Indeed, in these modern days of the 19th century, Kali Yuga has almost dawned. Oh my God, my dharma is getting corrupt. Save my society, save my religion. Look at this atrocity. My sister is a widow. If my grandfather was alive, she would have been righteously cremated with her husband's body. A death of such glory and dignity. But now, she has run away somewhere.
Sir, Professor Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar has propagated the idea of a remarriage. You know, Veerasalingam has started a home for child widows. I found your sister there.
Oh, Shiva, what a dirty idea. Remarriage for a widow? What an unholy idea to have all widows in one place.
These Hindus are losing their religion, getting corrupted by an alien English education. Hence, my Muslim brothers, let us not send our children to modern schools.
Sir, my son is a student of the Aligarh College, recently started by our Syed Ahmad Khan. I think all of us should give a better modern education to our children. Let us not get left behind.
That is all right. Let people of other religions do what they like. But my son, you cannot change.
But Father, our Saint Ramalinga Adigal believes in the universal brotherhood beyond all castes, creed, race, religion and nationality. He feels all men are children of God, whether Hindu, Muslim or Christian.
Well, it is a sin to cross the seas. I will neither go out nor accept the aliens. How can all these mlechas be equal to us?
Father, Swami Vivekananda himself has crossed the oceans to talk about our religion in the West. I am more than convinced by his vision of religion. He says he does not want a religion which cannot wipe a widow's tears nor bring a morsel of food to the orphans. Father, we have only 4 more years to see the end of the 19th century. A new era is to begin. Professor Karve in Pune has just married a widow. I also intend to marry a widow and give new life to a poor girl.
Let us go to every holy river and pond in this country. We must have a dip in the Ganges to get rid of these sinful thoughts of yours. You are not serious, I am sure.
I'm sorry, Father. I'm quite serious. Swami Dayananda has advised us to give up this religion of rituals and holy rivers. I go back to the Vedic religion and find no support for this mechanical counting of the beads. We all have the right to learn science as well as the Vedas. This is a thrilling time, Father. A group of nationalists have formed the Indian National Congress 10 years ago. Gopalakrishna Gokhale has founded the Servants of India Society. I'm sorry, Father, you cannot agree with me, but I wish to be a servant of India at this historic time.
Unlike the Upanishads, several of which are in the form of a dialogue between student and teacher, reflecting a spirit of academic freedom, unlike the tradition of the ancient rishis, in which open-minded inquiry and interrogation was part of spiritual sadhana, the early 19th century in India was dominated by superstition when custom overruled curiosity. And then a period of great renaissance started in the mid-19th century, a period which perhaps has yet to reach its zenith. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Henry Louis de Rosio, Keshav Chandra Sen, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Syed Ahmad Khan, and Ramalinga Adigal were among those who spearheaded a resurgent reformist movement of Renaissance during the 19th century.
A Telugu Pandit by profession, Kandukuri Veereshalingam was a social reformer, educationist, and one of the makers of modern Telugu literature. A pioneer in the campaign against child marriages, he initiated the practice of widow remarriage. Veereshalingam started an institution for the rehabilitation of child widows in Rajamundry. He conducted Vivekavardhani and other journals to fight against corruption in public services and other malpractices in society. The Widows' Home and Girls' Schools, founded by him in the late 19th century, continue to render their service today in Rajamundry, Andhra Pradesh. The Yaravas of Kerela were originally engaged in toddy tapping and other traditional occupations and were classified untouchables. Sri Narayana Guru founded Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam, under the auspices of which many schools and colleges were started for the benefit of this community. He also did his best to educate the people of Kerala on the evils of untouchability and helped to propagate the concept of social equality. Visiting him in his ashram, Rabindranath Tagore wrote, "I have never come across one who is spiritually greater than Sri Narayana Guru." Guruji categorically declared that he found no support for the cruel practice of untouchability in Hindu scriptures, and he worked tirelessly for one caste, one religion, one God for man. In terms of action-oriented social reform with personal involvement, the contribution of Keshav Karve remains unmatched. Born in 1858 in Ratnagiri district, Maharashtra, Karve was a pioneer of women's education. A graduate of Bombay University, he started his career as a lecturer in mathematics at the Ferguson College, Pune. Particularly interested in the rehabilitation of widows, he married a widow himself and started the Hindu Widows' Home in 1896. He founded the Mahila Vidyalaya, which grew into the present SNDT Women's University. Maharishi Karve, as he was known, lived in this modest room all his life till the age of 104. Although his fame and his institutions had grown, he led a simple life in this modest cottage, where he started a widow's home in the last years of the 19th century. Recipient of Bharat Ratna, Maharishi Karve lived to see a changed India in his lifetime. In this historic picture, we find Karve and his bride, with other members of the progressive group, even as eyebrows were raised against them in obscurantist circles in 1896. Different nationalist, reformist, and resurgent threads were brought together in 1885 in the shape of the Indian National Congress. While the Congress had political objectives, Justice Ranade founded the Social Conference at the same time as a social counterpart. Ranade believed in man conquering the world through universal, undifferentiated love. He demanded a change from constraint to freedom, from credulity to faith, from status to contract, from authority to reason, from unorganized to organized life, from a blind fatalism to a sense of human dignity. Ranade declared, "You cannot have a good social system when you find yourself low in the scale of political rights, nor can you be fit to exercise political rights and privileges unless your social system is based on reason and justice. You cannot have a good economic system when your social arrangements are imperfect. If your religious ideals are low and groveling, you cannot succeed in social, economic, or political spheres." An ardent follower of Ranade, Gopalakrishna Gokhale founded the Servants of India Society in Pune, dedicated to the service of the nation and living up to its name. On this hilltop in Pune, a group of dedicated youngsters took the oath to serve the nation. The Servants of India Society became a focal point of social reform and selfless service. This banyan tree was witness to the daily meditations and arduous service of a great son of India, Gokhale, whose influence spread far and wide, spreading aerial roots. In this house where Gokhale lived, a young man of great vision met him. A meeting of giants of two generations. Yes, Mahatma Gandhi visited him here soon after his return from South Africa. Meanwhile, a dominant and forceful voice of Hindu reform was heard, that of Swami Vivekananda, a brilliant saint who brought the message of modern Hinduism with the impact of a worldwide spiritual force. Born in a prosperous house in central Calcutta, he came under the spell of Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. His universalism was deeply rooted in the specific message of Vedanta. Vivekananda was a saint, but not a recluse. To him, the ideal of Advaita Vedanta was one of living identification of man with all other men, with all other living things. He declared that so long as millions live in hunger and ignorance, I hold everyone a traitor, who, having been educated at their expense, pays not the least heed to them. It is an insult to starving people to offer them religion, an insult to a starving man to teach him metaphysics. For he was convinced that to serve man was to serve God. His nationalist teachings were meant to awaken Indians. Naturally, independence was an important goal. He said to his countrymen, "So, give up being a slave. For the next 50 years, This alone shall be our keynote. This, our great Mother India. Founding the Ramakrishna mission here on the banks of the Hooghly River, he said, "We as a nation have lost our individuality, and this is the cause of all the mischief in India. We have to give back to the nation its lost individuality and raise the masses." A champion of religion, he never thought that science was an impediment to religion or reason to faith. The scientific attitude for him was as valid in religion as in secular knowledge. He believed that the spirit of scientific inquiry was very much in evidence in the rich intellectual activities of the ancient Hindus, and that it was necessary to revive the same in order to purify Hinduism of its superstitions. A political revolutionary turned mystic, Sri Aurobindo, guided a band of Indians to pursue a detached path of spiritualism combined with intense national fervor. While many other thinkers of the time were attempting a mere synthesis of Eastern and Western philosophies, Sri Aurobindo created a well-knit, brilliantly argued, comprehensive and unique philosophical system. While many poets were inspired by the milieu of the new Indian thinking, two men sang their way into the people's hearts and became harbingers of India's resurgence. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore and Subramanya Bharati had a poetic vision far ahead of their times. Bharati not only sang the glory of India's liberated woman, but was also the first poet outside the Soviet orbit in the whole world to sing the glory of the Russian Revolution and the new socialist order. In the higher realms of Indian thought, it is difficult to completely isolate the spiritual and intellectual leaders of the Renaissance from the political leaders of the freedom struggle. The greatest symbol of intellectual and spiritual Renaissance was Mahatma Gandhi himself, who stood for the elevation of the poorest of the poor, the freedom of the most humble and downtrodden, not limiting his vision of freedom to a mere transfer of political power from one race to another, but expanding his horizon to freedom in economic, intellectual, and spiritual terms, opposed as he was to all kinds of slavery.
The national movement not only took upon itself the task of liberating India from Western political rule, but liberating the peasant from the zamindar, the woman from enslavement by man, the untouchable from enslavement by high caste, resulting in a struggle that was multidimensional, moral, ethical, economic, political, and spiritual.
Even before performing his great role of bridging the days of India's struggle for freedom with those of a triumphant new voyage of discovering her future destiny as an independent land, Jawaharlal Nehru declared from his prison cell, "India is a geographical and economic entity, a cultural unit amidst diversity, a bundle of contradictions held together by strong but invisible threads. Overwhelmed again and again, her spirit was never conquered. And today, When she appears to be the plaything of a proud conqueror, she remains unsubdued and unconquered. About her, there is the elusive quality of a legend of long ago. Some enchantment seems to have held her mind. She is a myth and an idea, a dream and a vision, and yet very real and present and pervasive. There are terrifying glimpses of dark corridors which seem to lead back to primeval night. But also, there is the fullness and warmth of the day about her. Shameful and repellent she is occasionally, perverse and obstinate, sometimes even a little hysterical, this lady with a past. But she is very lovable, and some of her children cannot forget her wherever they go or whatever strange fate befalls them. India will find herself again when freedom opens out new horizons, and the future will then fascinate her far more than the immediate past of frustration and humiliation. She will go forward with confidence, rooted in herself, and yet eager to learn from others and cooperate with them.